All right, this is Mr. McMurray, and we're here for the second part of the study guide we're going over, starting with number 8. Well, actually, we did number 8. About every 24 to 45 days, roughly once a month, your skin is completely replaced. So, if you think your skin is old, it's like technically it's never more than about a month old. All right? All right. So, no matter if you're 50, whatever years like I am. Anyhow, number 9, why are people with darker skin less likely to get skin cancer? All right. We'll talk about this later, but the number of melanocytes, the cells that make pigment, are the same in anyone, regardless of black, white, yellow, whatever we say your skin color is, or race you belong to. The difference is in the amount of melanin that those cells make. Okay, people with darker cells, their melanocytes are more active and make more melanocytes. All right. And the melanocytes are these little dots here. And they get in here and they basically form like a shield around the nucleus of the cell, which protects it from UV rays. So when UV rays come through the skin, they absorb the UV and keep it from damaging the DNA and making a mutation that might lead to skin cancer. Right? So basically, the darker the skin, the more melanin they have, not melanocytes, but more melanin they have, and that protects their nucleus that much better. So they are less likely to get skin cancer. Now, the one downside is that since they have darker skin, it's sometimes harder to see the skin cancer on the skin and realize that there's something wrong. And so sometimes they don't get caught as early. And so that can be a downside. But in general, people with darker skin tend to have less skin cancer. Interesting enough, if you look at the native peoples who originally lived in areas, generally, if they were closer to the equator, they tended to have darker skin, which means that they have more melanin in their cells. And as you get farther from the equator, say Sweden, for example, you get very light-skinned people. And so there are some exceptions to that, but the general trend is in warmer, hotter, more sunny climates, you tend to have people that have more melanin in their cells, which is probably an adaptation. They probably did better because they're less likely to get skin cancer than people with less. All right. Now, of course, we've moved around and settled in different places, and so that doesn't really hold true. But if you look at where the native people originally were, you will see a general trend in that direction. But there are exceptions to that. All right. What causes freckles and moles? Basically, if you get a bunch of melanin, this melanin, and it concentrates in one little dot, which is a lot of really dark melanin, and it gives you that dark freckle or a mole. Okay? And so it's really nothing to worry about with those. Some people try to get rid of freckles. Some people like freckles, wish they had more freckles, but oh well, there you go. It's just the way it is. All right. Structures in the skin that sense pain, number 11. It's nerve endings, actual nerve endings. If you hit the nerve endings, they actually pick up pain. Deep pressure, there are some things called lamellar corpuscles. All right, I don't think there is one on this picture, but they're down here, and they feel pressure when you push deep in. Okay, they can feel that pressure down deep. But just for the sense of touch, this has to be up here close to the surface, and these are called Merkel cells or Merkel disc. All right, and so I put that up here, but it's also there. They actually are what give us our sense of touch, and that would be just right at the base of the epidermis, right at the top of the dermis, right, along with the nerve endings. All right. What forms fingerprint? Basically, if you look at where the dermis and epidermis meet, you have this wavy line here called the dermal papillae we talked about, and that gives you the ridges, and then of course oil and sweat on those ridges lead behind your fingerprint. Now, the purpose of fingerprints, we use them for identifying people, but that's not really their purpose. For your body, they probably help increase friction. All right, if you had worn them off and had smooth fingertips, you wouldn't have as much friction and you wouldn't be as able to grip things. Some people think, well, that's not really that big a deal, but that's about the only really purpose that we can think of fingerprints as far as helping your body out. Well, so we obviously use them for identification, but that's kind of different. All right, the next one is the function of collagen and elastic fibers. Okay, and these are proteins that are found in your skin, but their function is collagen. You'll see a lot of times collagen is added to shampoos, to lotions, and things like that, other health and beauty aids. It's a very tough protein, but it attracts and binds water, and so it keeps the skin moist. If you get dry, scaly skin, then you probably have lower amounts of collagen. Okay, and so collagen is often, like I said, added to a lot of beauty products, hair products, things like that to keep it hydrated or moist looking. Okay. Also, we have elastic fibers. Okay, these elastic fibers are what allow the skin to stretch and then snap back to its regular shape. Okay, so different things happen to our face. We smile, we do different things, and it stretches our skin. Okay, when your skin is young, you have a lot of these elastic fibers, and elastic doesn't just mean it stretches. What elastic technically means is it snaps back. And so they do. But as you get older and you've stretched your skin so many times, people tend to get more wrinkles as we get older and stuff. And so I'm probably getting there. A lot of different wrinkles on my face. All right. But that's because the elastic fibers are probably wearing out and not doing so well. So as you get older, your skin tends to get drier because you have less collagen. And so drier, scalier, and kind of even brittle-ish sometimes. And it gets less elastic. So it starts to sag and wrinkle and things like that. All right. Number 14 is how do blood vessels help control body temperature. Basically, there are capillaries down here in the dermis, okay? And when you need to get rid of heat, they fill up with or engorge. In other words, dilate means get bigger. When they dilate your eyes at the dentist office, it makes your pupils get bigger and lets more light in. That's why you have to wear sunglasses when you go back out in the sun because it's going to let a lot of light in. But yeah, these capillaries dilate and go up here close to the surface of the skin, all right, to the dermis, and that allows heat to escape up here and into the air. So that helps you cool down. Now, if it's cold, they constrict and they squeeze down, okay, and they don't let much blood through. Keep the blood down in here to keep the core part of your body warm, and that's why your fingers and toes and your skin surface can get cold, but the rest of your body stays at a good temperature. Okay. Also, when you get hot, you turn red because of all these red capillaries at the surface. And then as you get cold, they constrict. You tend to look blue because you see the deeper veins more than you normally would and less of the reddish tint to your skin. Okay. And so that's why you have those different colors as well. All right. Number 15, ulcers form. Okay. We have a nice, well, gross, but yeah, there's an ulcer. This is called a decubitus ulcers, and these are what are called sometimes bed sores. They're very common in hospitals and nursing homes where people stay still for long periods of time. One of the things that nurses have to do, like my daughter works with one, and they very often have a lot of patients who are in ICU type conditions where they can't move, so they have to shift them and turn them because what happens is if they stay in one position so long, bones press on the skin and basically cut off the circulation in those areas. And when they cut off the circulations, then they begin to form these sores like that, and tissue tends to die and stuff like that, and you get these really nasty looking ulcers. Okay, and so basically, if you're bedridden and can't move, it's very important that the caregivers, either nurses or whoever's taking care of the patients, come and turn them regularly so they don't get these bed sores or decubitus ulcers. And it has to do because the bones press on the skin and cut off the blood flow, kind of like going to sleep. We talk about, oh, I cut off the circulation of my leg, it feels like it's sleep. Well, that's kind of the same thing. All right. Basically, that is what the test covers, I believe, through 15. But I'm going to go ahead and do number 16 because we have some time here, and maybe 17. All right. So first of all, 3 causes of skin color. First of all is the amount of melanin. Like I said, everybody has about the same number of melanocytes in their cell. It's just that certain people, darker skinned people, they're going to produce a lot more melanin of the actual dyes. Okay, it also depends on the kind. There's yellow, reddish brown, or black melanin, and so those can give you the different tints. Okay, we're talking about red skin or Indians being redskins. Well, that's because they have more of a reddish tint to their skin. Asian people tend to have more of a yellow tint, different shades of black, from brown to really deep black. There's lots of different shades, and technically if you look at anybody's skin, you could put 10 people's hands, supposedly the same race, and they're all going to be slightly different colors, and part of that is because everybody makes a slightly different amount and kind of those pigments. Also, a lot of races have intermarried and stuff, and so we don't have pure races except for in places where they're fairly isolated and haven't mixed with any other populations. And so there's a lot of different melanocytes. Just for a There's been a lot of bad things that have happened to people, though, because of the color of skin, which really just depends on these colors of these dyes or skin tones that are produced in the melanocytes. Okay. Number 3, the amount of keratin deposited in the corneum or the outlayer and the subcutaneous species. Keratin looks like carrots, and it is kind of an orangish color. Okay, I've heard of people eating massive amounts. They have to eat a lot of carrots, and it can actually give you an orange tinge. No, I don't think that's why some politicians you may have heard of that have orangish skin, but that's a different thing. But anyhow, but carrots will give you a color. I've had a bearded dragon that someone took home. We fed it carrots all the time, and it got kind of a lot more orangey colors to it. All right, that's from the keratin. All right, besides keratin, the last thing is the oxygen-rich hemoglobin in the blood vessels in the dermis. Okay, it gives that reddish tint. Okay, like I said, when you're cold and you don't have as much blood going through the dermis, you constrict the blood vessels and there's not as much blood flow, you tend to get more of a blue color because you see the color from the veins that are deeper and are normally kind of covered up by the red of the capillaries. Okay, but that also is going to affect your skin. That's why if you run, you turn reddish. If you get cold, you turn bluish. Okay. So a combination of the different melanins, different colors, different amounts, the keratin, which has the orangish color, the reddish color from oxygen-rich blood or hemoglobin in the blood, all of those things are caused to have the different shades of color. Okay. Number 17 says, what are the causes of cyanosis? Cyan usually means green, blue-green or blue. In this case, we call it usually blue, so it's a blue color. And usually it's because you don't have enough oxygen in your blood. Once again, the veins, which have less oxygen, tend to give bluer color, even though the blood is not actually blue. The light that comes through your skin is mostly the blue light, and so it gives it kind of a bluish tinge. And so if someone turns blue, that's usually a sign that either their blood circulation is not working very good, so they're turning blue because there's low oxygen levels, or that their lungs are not working very good and causing them not to have much oxygen. That's usually a sign of something like that. My daughter, one of them has a heart defect, and when she's about 2 months old, they basically said, go home and wait till she turns blue. When she turns blue, come back and we'll do something. Okay? Because they wanted her to grow as much as she could and get bigger before they did the operation. But basically, at some point, she wasn't getting enough blood circulation and she would turn blue. First, when she just cried and got upset, but then it was just all the time. And she'd also get very sleepy. And that was because of low oxygen levels. All right. Erythema, we'll see that means red. We'll see that a lot. So it's just a reddish color. Usually it's caused by embarrassment. You get blushed. You blush when you're embarrassed. Fever, you're hot. Hypertension, high blood pressure. If it's inflamed or an infection area, sometimes it'll be red because you got a lot of blood going to that area. It's inflamed, or sometimes allergies. All of these have to do probably mostly with blood flow in those capillaries, and so therefore it gives you that reddish tint. All right. Jaundice. A lot of times babies are kept in the hospital a few days because they're jaundiced. They usually have kind of a yellow color. And basically, the liver is supposed to break down red blood cells and stuff, and it's supposed to either destroy the bile or send it to the gallbladder and get rid of it through the bile duct. And if that's not happening, then the bile is building up in the body and in the tissues, and it gives the skin a yellowish color. And so something needs to be done for that. Usually if it's a baby, they'll keep it in the hospital, put lights on it in a little incubator thing, and that seems to speed up the liver function. The liver kind of kicks into gear and starts breaking down the bile like it should, and then they can usually send them home. So it's usually not a serious thing. But if it is caused by liver failure or something like that, then you've got some more serious issue. And it's not just going to clear up, then it could be a serious issue. So older people or even in a baby, if the liver wasn't functioning, it could be serious. But most of the time, it's not a really serious problem. And the last one is hematomas. We talk about someone being beaten black and blue. Well, that's basically a hematoma, which is a fancy name for a bruise. Okay, and basically what happens is when the tissue is damaged and the blood leaks inside or the body under the skin. Okay, so the blood escapes into the tissues and just clots, and it turns a dark color. It usually looks kind of black or bluish. As the blood over time will be broken down into different compounds, and each time it gets changed down to a different compound before it's finally completely broken down, it changes color. So a lot of times they'll turn yellowish and greenish and all kinds of little stuff along with it. Okay. It can be caused by a lack of vitamin C or people who are hemophiliacs or are on blood thinners like aspirin and stuff that cause them to bleed easily. All right, that's it for there. We'll come back to that next time, and have a great day.